number 1 of the grand finals of the LiuLi Cup. In the bottom left hand side, it is the blue Terran player representing Team Liquid. It is Clem.
In the top right, just dispatched of Cyril in the lower bracket finals, our red Protoss player is MaxPax. So it's some TvP between two players that play each other a lot. It's going to be very interesting to see, like you said. I think, do either of these guys have something planned for the other now that this is a bit of a bigger series than just the weekly cup finals? There's definitely a possibility. You think about who you might meet in these tournaments. MaxPax and Clem definitely think about meeting each other. They both know they're very good, so it'll be interesting to see if we have some more intriguing kind of openers kind of planned between these guys. There's a series that I do think a lot of these games are going to be decided between kind of 8 and 10 minutes, where some Clem aggression or MaxPax aggression goes well and the follow-up is just game ending. So we will see, as we do have our probe coming across to start us out, nibbling up at an SCV.
Oh, MaxPax didn't go for the wall off. I'm sure there will be some mind games that we're not aware of. I honestly think these are two players that don't keep stuff secret for these open cups. They care about winning, and then they just go from series to series. So from whatever they know the other guy played last, and they're going to try to blank counter the opponent in the next series they play against each other. And they don't strike me as players that keep something hidden. There's different player archetypes. For example, I will keep my strategies hidden, sometimes for months, to the point where I might not even get to use them because they get patched out of the game, and I don't get to play against the players where I have it specifically saved up for. I had this happen to me multiple times, but I would never use it in an open cup because I wait exactly for opportunities like this. But I think MaxPax and Clem don't exactly act like that. So I think we're going to get some straight up games. We're going to get some solid games from both sides, with probably a bit of variety when it comes to the opening phase. As Clem already opening up with a 2-gas Reaper into Reactor Factory, so a little bit more on the offensive side.
Yeah, a little bit more aggressive from Clem right from the very get-go here. We'll give him some tech options off the faster factory, the starport coming online as well, command center and the SCV coming through as the Reaper just makes its way around towards the upper side. Twilight Council, Nexus, and Warp Gate all building, and the Reaper will have a look to poke into the main base in the next few moments.
It's going to be a Hellion drop with a proxy starport against a Twilight opening, so it's very important for MaxPax to understand what is happening. So far, both of us Adept stayed at home, and he doesn't know that there even is a Reactor Factory out. It's important for him to understand what is going on, because he then can wall at the front, and he can put all of his units towards his main base. I think that would make his life the absolute easiest. He will see that there is no CC, but he didn't go far enough to spot that there is Hellion, so he has no idea, which means he might not quite be in position for the Hellions. It is really, really, really important that he has something in the main base, because Clem is gonna head straight to the main super early on into the game.
The factory is going to lift off the reactor. The factory to the tech lab. Raux gets the reactor. Hellions ready to jump into that starport medevac, and it is going to go. Dropping in the main base. This is a build Clem loves, but there's a gap in the main base that MaxPax does not have visible right now, and that is absolutely dire for him. The depth across the map is not going to help him either, and the Hellions are going to make their move into the main mineral line as we speak, and yeah, this is already looking to be horrendous. 10 workers so quickly is really bad, because you're going to save these Hellions as well. You're going to lift them up. You're going to drop them elsewhere. Like, they've got longevity in this game, and yeah, this is a very rough start for MaxPax. Game ending almost.
Yes. This is worse than the Gleeves last game.
Yes.
Just as a comparison. This was really, really, really bad. He lost 16 workers. 3 of the Hellions are still alive. Blink is not done yet. He didn't get that much damage done on the other side of the map. The Hellions are still fighting. If those shot at the probes there, I think MaxPax would have left the game. Because those probes were all clumped up. He's going to try to get a double hit. Gets one more probe, gets another one. Goes towards the main base. All of this is very annoying for MaxPax. I mean, you can look at the main base of MaxPax and you will realize where this game is at.
Yeah, not enough probes on minerals. There's no workers in one of the gas. I mean, we have got a Twilight Council that's finished Blink, and that's about it. We are on 3 gateways, and the Stalker count is not great either. Clem clearly has more than enough to defend any Stalker pressure here, so this is going to be looking good.
Yep, not quite sure where the starport is supposed to fly here. I think that one was misrallied. Aside from that, Clem realizes the only way he can lose this game is if MaxPax deals a whole lot of counter-aggression damage, and he started double bunker. He already has 2 tanks out because he started tank production right after the first couple of Hellions. So yeah, he's gonna repair back up that bunker, put the tank, sorry, puts Marine in both bunkers, and MaxPax has to go.
Yep, he has no option other than just send it. He gets a siege tank, but that's a tradable kind of situation here as Clem is taking down the Stalkers. He's, like I say, no danger of losing too much here, that this is going to really fall away from him. He's still up a significant amount of workers. Obviously, Mule's on his side as well. Lose another Stalker to try and go into the main base to try and wrap around for some SCVs, but it just ain't happening realistically. I mean, MaxPax, you can see the desperation. Zealot and Stalkers warping in here. He knows he needs some serious damage, but as we keep on saying, it just ain't happening.
It just ain't happening. It's only 3 gateways. He can't even properly produce from these 3 gates. GG is called. Clem takes a convincing 1-0 with a proxy starport Hellion drop, one of Clem's all-time favorite builds.
And it's funny because he really hasn't used it that much lately as well. Like, I think I even was casting him recently, and I was like, man, it's funny because he used to love the Hellion drop, and he was doing like just a Hellion opener. And I was just like, man, he really doesn't use it so much anymore, but cracks it out in game 1 of this best of 7. A comfort build for him, gives him a comfortable 1-0 lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly how you want to start off that series. And yeah, as you said, he used to play it all the time, but recently not so much. So MaxPax just didn't have it on his radar. It was very important for Clem to occupy the Adept on the other side of the map. His Adept didn't see even a single time that the factory was on the reactor, which meant that MaxPax had no idea this was happening, and made it way harder, obviously, for him.
Yeah. No, made that very tough, as we'll be looking to ley lines for game number 2, so into a map that's given us some very good games as of late. We'll see what ley lines gets us here as we get this hosted up. And as we say, game 2 coming up in a few moments' time, as Clem has got himself a 1-0 lead. It is just a straight best of 7, so no advantage to Clem. It is just 1-0 here, and 3 to go to be the champ.
I think MaxPax just said, you know what, usually the winner, the guy from the winner's bracket deserves an advantage. He gives him 1 freebie. And now the real series starts.
Yep.
It's a sign of fair play, really. They didn't even try in the last game.
Yeah, he says, you know, I accept it. You know, this should be how it is. Don't like the format. Have your game and let us do battle now as we go into ley lines. So, we kick off into map number 2. And ley lines it is, to see if we can have MaxPax step it up and just not die to Hellions. As we have in the bottom left-hand side already the blue Terran player from Team Liquid, who Hellion drops his way to that 1-0 lead. This is Clem.
And his opponent, who has had a positive win rate since the patch against Clem, it is MaxPax. Alright, game 1 was Clem's map pick, I'm pretty sure. So this means that this is MaxPax's most comfortable map. Ley lines, a very standard, solid map. He opts to not wall once again, and he also opts to go for the Gateway Scout. So he's starting off that series with very safe play. I mean, theoretically, last game was also his bread and butter, a very safe opener by itself. It's just that his units were not in position because he didn't understand what was going on. So I'm pretty sure he's going to try to fix that, but Clem is not doing something similar this game. Instead, he's going for a 1 Rex expand. Only a single refinery has been made from him so far. And that means it's either Marine or Reaper and then into expansion.
Yeah, it's already mixing it up build order-wise, as the probe will come to check and obviously look for information just like that. Figure out how early the expand is going to be, how quickly factory pressure may be arriving. Get that information ASAP. He works from there as the probe moves into the main. The SCV comes about. And he's going to go and nibble back at that probe a little bit further. Cybercore and the Zealot. Building from MaxPax as the Nexus also comes down on the natural.
MaxPax was actually slightly late there because of how annoying Clem was with his SCV. So Clem could have gotten the CC down if he macroed it perfectly. Either way, he did end up delaying it a little bit. Not the biggest of deals either way, where MaxPax is probably going to go Adept first again. And yeah, he's just going to look to defend the Reaper. He did finish the Zealot, so the Zealot is going to run by, and it's Reaper into Marine, it's important to see if that Reaper actually goes across the map, because if it does, his natural might be delayed a little bit. Goes for an early bunker as well, though.
Gonna be very, very safe as TV pops that bunker down. Just wants to make sure he's not in danger. The Reaper is going to step forward, find the Zealot, and we'll be able to start chipping through its shield and then its HP bar. Marine is going to get onto that, so the Reaper and the Marine together. Just going to pull back, and I mean, the Zealot will try for the SCV on the bunker. Good micro from Clem, only taking that shot on the SCV so far. The SCV gets back to it. The Marine takes a trip around. Very well handled.
Very well handled. Doesn't even get a hit off that Marine, and now the Adept arrives. He might get the SV actually. No, he doesn't. Try to step past the Marines and the Reaper, and I can understand that. Adept most likely would have died. Not worth an SCV kill, as he's trying to join up with his next Adept. Gives him a little bit of a power spike there. The 2 Adepts should definitely beat 2 Marines and a Reaper. But now the bunker comes into play, and Clem should be safe.
Yeah, I mean, with the bunker up, it's very difficult to really die. You've got the Hellion. In case the Adepts do commit to shade back, the Hellion can help to just pick away at the Adepts a little bit, so they're kind of safe through and through right now. You've got a wall in that main base, so the Adepts will never get into anywhere too meaningful or too drastic. As the Hellion is going to take one more shot, the Adept comes back over toward the natural. Another Adept going to join up, but already losing one Adept is kind of sad.
Losing an Adept and a Zealot so far for just 1 Marine, so that's... The early game skirmishes definitely went well for Clem this game. He was opening up with a very, very, very fast Raven. He made that tackle up with the factory, so no factory unit after the Hellion. And he starts up a super early Raven that will probably try and go behind MaxPax's bases to try and harass later down the line.
One Adept in this main base. There's a lot of SCVs off the line trying to help out against that Adept, and I mean, quite a lot of lost mine time here. We'll start to clean up the Adepts, but it doesn't come freely for Clem in the slightest.
Oh, not at all. He missed the depot race. Oh, that Adept almost walked back into the Marine, so it doesn't even kill the Adept. You would think he kills it with the Hellion and the Reaper, right? But he doesn't.
No, it doesn't happen as the Stalker hits the Hellion, turns that back around. Blink is on the way up. Obs and Nexus. MaxPax is taking that straight to the 3rd base, and yeah, I mean, I guess Reaper and Hellion can go towards the Adept now, but Stalkers are coming as well. They're going to try and put some pressure on with that Blink done. They're going to try and take position as Clem sieges up a little bit far forward, just to try and keep an eye on where those Stalkers might come from.
Yeah, this is an off position, and MaxPax playing it cautiously is very good for him. If he tried to go towards Clem's base, maybe without paying attention, would have eaten a tank shot or 2. Instead, he pays perfect attention to his Stalkers, then engages the moment the tank unsieges, gets a couple of free Marine pickoffs. Beautiful stuff there from MaxPax.
Stalkers will step with the Observer. Again, try and find some more of those picks. Try and find some more of these moves over the next little bit as the Stalkers come in. Marines and tanks will start to take some damage. Some hits coming down as the Raven actually cleans out the Observer.
Yeah, that's a good pickoff. Clem's just trying to posture, but this is quite scary, which it means that he does nothing back in his own natural, and I was about to say, if MaxPax just bypasses his units, he finds a pure bunker, and he can still just run past that. In the main base there is next to nothing. All the SCVs pull right away, but it's now just SCVs against the Stalkers. He's trying to flank with the tanks, but if MaxPax blinks towards the bottom instead of the bottom right, that means trouble for Clem. A lot of SCVs are going down, and I think he... Yeah, I think he tried to defend too far forward, and he's getting punished for it.
Yeah, I think just working around that obviously gives MaxPax an opening and a way in, and he finds that opening. Gets a ton of workers, kills off the Raven. I mean, Clem now probably feels some pressure to kind of maybe just send it to some extent, but this is really not ideal. I mean, no workers mining gas in the main base. He does not have medivacs yet. He's still waiting on upgrades. MaxPax is going to recover from that recall and be right back on the map, ready to kind of, you know, pick away at units if they try and move across.
Yeah, it is so important to try and do exactly that, pick off the units. Make it hard for the Terran to move out, try to force some siege ups. And Clem is very committed now. He doesn't have a 3rd CC even on the way, whereas MaxPax already is thinking about taking a 4th. I don't think he maybe necessarily needs to do that at this point. I think for now, as long as he defends this push without dying, I think he's in a good spot.
100% with you as the SCVs We'll continue mine away. Bio going to come across, stemming after some of those Stalkers. Prism around the bottom side. He's going to head toward the main base as well. Stalkers, gotta be careful. A couple tanks are sieging up, and they could make those Stalkers' lives miserable if you're not careful, so gotta be cautious. But yeah, Stalkers in the main base, and Clem does not really have an answer. Sorry, not Stalkers. Zealots in the main base, even better. As Clem gets a few units back. We do not warp anything in just yet as MaxPax. As Clem, I really do think, just has to focus on trying to get something done on the other side.
100%. He actually deals with this quite well. A lot of his SCVs were already 1 HP, so that was harder than it might have looked. But Clem's army doesn't look that threatening anymore. He hasn't reinforced it because of the Zealot War Prism. All of his units now stayed at home that he has produced throughout the past 30 seconds or so. And now he sieges up. MaxPax still needs to respect his army. He has an Immortal that popped out. Good Guardian Shield. It's a nice tank spot though, with 2 Widow Mines at the back. Trying to make it hard for MaxPax to engage here.
He wants to make it as difficult as he can as Clem just gets shots off where he can for the moment. There's also going to come into flank, like you mentioned. The Widow Mines back here can help a lot as they soften up some of the Zealots, but man, there's just not the bio numbers in the slightest. You can see this bio force ain't going to be enough. Clem is reinforcing, but he's also going to have Zealots counterattacking, and that means he's not going to be ready back on the other side, and that is going to make this extremely difficult.
Yep, his 30C is now finishing up, so he's going to try to equalize a little bit in terms of economy, but MaxPax's fort is obviously already up, and he has no anti-Colossus whatsoever, which means he's going to have to fall back here. Zealots in the natural, Zealots in the main. And it's looking rough for the Terran in game 2.
GG. MaxPax going to tie us up 1-1. As you mentioned, just on the map, stay.
Also a nasty map for Blinkstalker aggression. It's just it will be a firework of the early game, early mid-game phase. Which is what we come to expect from these two anyways, right?
Absolutely. The 100% kind of, like I said, you know, expect kind of damage early and a lot of games to be figured out by 8 to 10 minutes. That's been what we've had so far, and maps like this only promote that playstyle from both of them. Bottom right, Red Bros player will be MaxPax, bringing it back to tied up 1-1 here in this best of 7.
And his opponent in top left, Team Liquid's Clem. I'll go for a very quick 1-minute break and I'll be right back.
Sure. Instant SCV, instant probe onto the map, guys. So both players want to make sure nothing is getting proxied against them here and making sure they're both very aware of just what and how that may go. So SCV and the probe just going to run by each other, heading across the map. And yeah, just going to have both units going to get in there. I mean, this means that the SCV can, of course, engineering bay block. It means that the probe will be there early to start harassing. And that will be our setup. So engineering bay block gives Clem a little bit of control in the game, slows MaxPax down, maybe forces MaxPax to take an out-of-position base as well. With the SCV and the probe nibble up in the main base of the Terran, but yeah, that engineering base is going to have a lot of HP on it as well. Clem gets, because it wasn't scouted, he gets so much HP onto it. Now he's going to try and block with the SCV here, and that forces the probe, if it wants to take an expansion, take this one, which is maybe the most awkward of all, because you're expanding towards the Terran player early in the game. A lot of opening pathways that you can kind of dive into that base from as well, and that makes it very difficult to get defense on it. So it's going to make this very difficult here for MaxPax. SCV turns around the other way, factoring the reactor coming up. Nexus Assimilator coming through too. And we'll see what Clem wants to do, if anything, to try and punish this out-of-position base. He has gone factory. Only on a single gas, though, so he will be putting his CC on the high ground now. But, it's going to be quite mineral-heavy, so he could factory onto the reactor and build Hellions, but he's just going to go Widow Mine. He's going to build a starport, and he's going to get the medevac ready for drop. So we'll get that starport started, and the Twilight Council builds from MaxPax, showing us once again that he's very happy to go into a blink play. Really no surprises about that. That is a lot of what we're expecting to see. As that adept continues to the upper left-hand side, is about to walk into the main. Oh, into the wall off on the main, I should say. Mine is going to be there and just on the high ground again. Twilight Council finishing. Stalker in the Warp Gate coming up. Couple of probes coming through. The Adept is, I think I'm just going to poke up, try and see what's up. And he does get to see Tech Lab on the factory. You know, that there's a Widow Mine already out. So this is information you get to gather from the very get-go. Now the starport is done, we can begin to build. We're actually going to build a Cyclone off the factory in the Tech Lab. So interesting to see that because that's not always the, well, not always the commitment. And especially against Blink Stalkers, Cyclone is not going to be as well received as if, you know, as just getting a siege tank out already or so on. It does make pushing back these Adepts at first a little bit easier, but at a cost, as Clem is still yet to build off the starport. So that's just sat there, AFK. Use up another factory unit, I think. He's just not building off the starport at all. I can't imagine that this was in the build order to not use the starport for so long here. I mean, it's been done for such a long time. Prioritize the tank and then that's the medevac now. Okay, maybe this wasn't his build order, but just obviously doesn't line up quite as you'd expect it to. As the Cyclone will start to lock onto an Adept, and it's going to be met by Stalkers. The Stalkers hide themselves, now reveal, and gets the Cyclone snipe. So Cyclone goes down, and one of Clem's early tech units is taken out of the equation immediately.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
It looks like I missed not much because I just came back to the first kill. I suppose this was an eBay block.
Yeah.
Clears that Widow Mine, but loses a unit for it. And Blink against what Clem is doing looks to be a good response, because at the very least he shouldn't take any damage. From that attack he's already on the map, so it's gonna make it hard for Clem to move out. This is a counter to a potential Stargate play, which a lot of Protoss players, if they get blocked, they do end up going for a Stargate, so... MaxPax not falling for that, instead just opening up with a normal Blink, and I like his position so far.
Yeah, it looks very good for him. I think that's kind of the piece of information that ties all together, that Clem went for the Cyclone to deal with the Stargate, but there was no Stargate, and so the Cyclone really didn't do much, and hence MaxPax now has opportunities here. There's a siege tank in the main base, but the other units are spread out. We actually can take some shots on the Stalker. Just gotta be careful, but we'll find our way around and try and hit this mineral line.
The tank is well positioned though. Maybe he can hit the gas, I'm not entirely sure, but it is protecting all the extra add-ons, protecting this. The attack lab that is soon gonna research Stim, which is usually the most important piece of equipment that you definitely don't want to lose as a Terran. So yeah, good defensive setup, but also not the most committed push ever from MaxPax.
No commitment at all, really, right? I mean, yeah, you open in Stalkers, but the Nexus is coming up, charge is halfway done. Even getting that Forge as well, so he's very far along, really, in terms of his next stage of the tech tree, and he's going to be the one to really kind of take some of this early control. Holding the map here makes it very difficult for Clem to move out at any point now.
Finds a little spot where he can hit the refinery, tanks a tank shot, but keeps most of his Stalkers, or all of his Stalkers in that case, alive. He's adding 5 extra gateways, so he wants to crush Clem's push with the Stalker, Zealot, and Guardian Shield. And he's probably going to want to counterattack at the same time as well. Usually as a Terran I always feel very uncomfortable in the positions where I had to make a lot of early tanks and then there's mass charge lots, because you don't quite know, can I now move out with all the tanks? Then tanks are not that good against Zealots overall. And MaxPax already is even getting ready for the next stage, which is the Robo Bay.
Becomes pretty tough across the board here. So, yeah, Robo Bay already coming up, so attack's going to be online. So as Clem hits his upgrades, maybe we'll try and see him poke out a little bit, but yeah, it's scary. With charge done, you're right, like, tanks do not deal well with the Zealots, and you can very easily get overmassed, and Clem does not have all the information in the world, right? Like, he doesn't know what the follow-up is, so he does not know what he'd be pushing out into, so hard to make comfortable decisions right now.
He's gonna move out with everything. He's gonna try at the very least. MaxPax will be ready to meet it with the Stalkers at the front. He has the War Prism set up for the backstab. He has a lot of Zealots out. There won't be a Colossus, so he will have to take this fight without AoE. The Raven also is still a threat with that anti-armor missile. Almost lost it there. Good counterattack though already with the Zealots.
Slows down some of the army. Makes Clem aware of that, makes it so it's going to be difficult for him to reinforce or justify reinforcing, as we have got the Raven going down. So the Raven doesn't do much at all. That's a great snipe from MaxPax. Really depowers what Clem could be working with here as he tries to push tanks a bit further up. Loses the medevac that lifted up the units as well. MaxPax with great control in this fight.
Yeah, Clem needs to back off right now. Otherwise, the zealots that are getting warped in are going to come into flank. These are coming in way too early, though. I'm not sure why the rest of the army is not going. If that one was synced up, MaxPax would have eaten Clem's army alive, like Harrison likes to say. Clem this way because it was desynced, though. Gets out alive. Still, it's a bad position for him. Clem already is done with his +1. He has a fort base on the way. His Colossus are now popping out as well. It's looking good for the Danish brothers.
Yes, it is. I mean, he can absolutely push right now because the Zealots can tank some of those tank shots as well. Let's see what he can do. He can maybe kind of slide into the natural here. He's actually going to turn. He just believes he's done enough to actually be able to engage the army right now. So in we go. One Colossus only. Does not take any shots during this. Clem doesn't target fire it. Clem actually does get a good bounce back on this. He's actually going to go for the Colossus there a little bit. He's going to get the Prism, which is siege up. So now the Colossus will fall too. And MaxPax misread this game because he thought he could go fighting in, and that's absolutely flunked now.
So that was not it wasn't with a concave. He first thought he might just circumvent the tank spot from Clem, run into the natural, and you realize, okay, it might not be possible. I'm gonna lose half my army on the way there. And instead he loses the entire army since he decides to engage. I mean, that was not his moment to attack. Colossus range was not done. He had extra Colossus on the way that wasn't there. He had a bunch of Zealots that were not in the fight. That was an awful engagement. Now Clem is the one with a big lead who's trying to push into MaxPax's fort base, which would have never been possible without MaxPax's attack, he still has so many Zealots on the other side of the map. These force fields are keeping him alive. He also has a second Colossus. Let's see if he can be the one that brings it back now.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Battery's already drained of energy. The Zealot's going to force Clem off of his third base. Again, keep reinforcements back to deal with those as well. Clem is just going to start target firing this base down. He's taking a lot of damage. And there's another Colossus showing up from the top, so... And two Colossus together, will that be enough? A few Marauders trying to busy themselves. The Zealots coming from the other side. Clem has to kite back away from this. Decides to lift up and get out, and MaxPax is going to defend. Clem killed some probes. Doesn't kill the base. Still has a good army supply lead to maybe keep going with. The problem is going to be the Colossus count. About to be 3. Very tough for Clem to compete with the Colossus count that's getting to be that high.
Yeah, sick upgrades as well from MaxPax. So MaxPax's position on the supply, it doesn't look that good, but in terms of the raw army value and how good his army actually is, he still is in this. He's down 20 supply, but he has better upgrades and he has Colossus out against a meager Viking count of 2, now 3. And right away he's trying to be active on the map again. Clem is backstabbing with a 4 medevac drop. It's not gonna kill the Forge in time, and the recall is forced. There's 3 Colossus without much else, but they're protected from a lot of buildings. So Clem needs to back off from the main base of MaxPax, while Clem is also moving towards the other side. MaxPax ready to intercept the medevac, only gets the empty one though, and now MaxPax completely out of position, loses fort base.
Wow, so Clem gets the 4th base, loses some units in the process. The Stalkers are going to come up. The Vikings are going to find the Warp Prism, which is likely going to die. I mean, it's walking into the middle of nowhere. It's going to get chased down. Very difficult to save that, because if you turn left, the Vikings will intercept it. It's just going to die. These medevacs, though, are not having a good time at all, so Clem losing units still as he tries to bring these aggressive units into position again, but is so far being denied.
Yes, MaxPax has not yet restarted the base. I think he needs to get that sorted out. Clem definitely in the lead now. He has 2-2 on the way. He can wait until he's maxed. He should have a Viking count good enough against these Colossus, and then he should be in a good position. As MaxPax is now the one that once again feels like he's in a good enough spot to move out on the map. Be aggressive, be active. He's trying to find the 2 medevacs. But he's gonna barely miss them, I think. Oh, never mind, gets 1, but that's an empty one again.
Yeah, the worst one for him to get, unfortunately. And the Stalker's going to swing back over. MaxPax's going to come back over to the left here. He's going to burrow a Widow Mine. Some bio steps up. The Stalkers will just fall back to the middle for now.
Yeah, double expansion, Dark Shrine on the way. MaxPax wants to be active with his army. I'm just a little bit afraid that the moment Clem hits the maxed out supply button, he can hit a huge surround on MaxPax's army. MaxPax really needs to watch out. He doesn't have that many stalkers to guard the Colossus with. He has a bunch of Guardian Shields, but he definitely can't overextend with his army once again. If that same fight happens that we saw earlier, he's just gonna straight up die this time around. Tries to activate the Widow Mine, but good retargeting makes it so it doesn't pop off. And now Clem is maxed out. He wants to move out on the map. It's a little bit uncomfortable for Clem because his 2-2 is not done yet, but he's maxed. So he kind of wants to fight now, but at the same time, he kind of also wants to wait a little bit longer. If he waits for his 2-2 though, MaxPax is also going to be maxed out, and the game is going to equalize.
Yep. Funky position here is our Disruptor plus 2 armor. Coming up online, the Bio, the Medivacs, the Vikings gather together as well. And these Stalkers of MaxPax can press around the right now too. There's the Bioforce. It looks obviously very good, but that's exactly what these tech units are for. The Disruptors and so that can do a lot to kind of disrupt this Bioforce. Force it to split, force it to back away from just dealing damage. Those are going to be critical in the next few moments.
Yeah, that base is pretty much forfeit. I don't think you can run into that. Army MaxPax at the very least catches a Viking on the back of Clem's army, but he's still not going to be happy about losing that 5th base. He's going to try to do something on the other side of the map at the same time, but there's Widow Mines ready to greet the Zealot run by. And it's now 4 base against 4 base, but Clem already has his 5th CC finished, and he has started 3-3.
Yep, 3-3 on the way through. Bio trying to dive in, gets that Disruptor. The Vikings will try and deal with the Colossus here. The Bioforce is looking a little bit worse for where there's so many Zealots still left. Zealots into the mineral line of the 3rd at the same time, so as Clem pulls back, he'll have to deal with those. MaxPax is still chasing. This army has no Medivac energy, so it's half HP already if it stims again, and there it is. Disruptor Shot can still zone. One Colossus still goes untouched because there's only a couple of Vikings remaining, and that's just so many Zealots from MaxPax who's going to turn this all the way around to Clem's base, and he's probably going to get that base if he wants it, because I just don't think Clem's army is good enough right now.
Yeah, he has the War Prism ready to reinforce as well. He's taking a huge supply lead, and he can now simply A-move. The Colossus damage was big, but that one Nova completely turned the game on its head, hitting center biomass, and Clem just couldn't focus fire down in time. It was a bad engagement from Clem, who's now on the back foot. As you said, all of these units are 1 HP, and MaxPax is just warping in fresh Zealots. He's focus firing down Medivacs. He's attacking, and this cannot possibly be an overextension because he simply has too much. Clem GG's out, and MaxPax takes a 2-1 lead.
Well, MaxPax. Alright, in the top right-hand corner, we're going to go into the Blue Protoss player's base. He's got a 2-1 lead, his first lead of this grand final. It is MaxPax.
And his opponent in the bottom left, down a map. It is Team Liquid's Clem.
Outside of that Hellion drop, Clem is kind of just struggling a little bit early. MaxPax is getting into good spots where he's controlling the map, and Clem is seemingly struggling with it.
Yes, he definitely is. There's also another map where Blink Stalker aggression can be quite good. You have a massive area in the main base of the turn where you can blink into. It's hard to defend everything at once. Clem opting to go for the 2 gas once again here. So similar to game number 1, no eBay block, just a normal 2 gas, get up an early factory. Try to get more units on the map early on and maybe do some damage to MaxPax that way.
And see how Probe shows up again. It's been shown up early in each of these games to come through and to fight, and to obviously guarantee that he knows what's going on as well as Clem with the double gas. Gonna switch back towards what he did in the first game, which is double gas at least. Obviously not necessarily a Hellion drop right now, but sets him up to potentially be a bit more aggressive.
Well, MaxPax realizing it's 2 gas, he went core first. This time around it's not going to be a double Hellion drop, otherwise the factory would be built, or a quad Hellion drop, otherwise the factory would be built right next to the barracks. MaxPax this time around, I'm also pretty sure he's just going to go ahead and make sure he gets that scouting information with the adepts, because that is what cost him the 1 game where he ended up losing. In almost a cheap fashion, some would say. It felt a little bit cheap, that win. Like, I don't think I would feel too bad if I just lose to a Hellion drop. It happens. You have it on the back of your mind again, and yeah, you go on with the series.
Well, let's see as our Reaper shows up on the other side. It's going to be Clem poking around for some info. The Adept is there, and the Reaper takes 2 shots, so it has to be careful now until it regenerates at least a little bit of HP back. So it pulls away. First Hellion There's going to be 2 more Reapers starting up, so there's going to be a lot of Reaper Hellion here this time around. Something Clem has not utilized yet in the series, so Reaper Hellion opening and a poke from him. See if he can get some early damage and then follow up afterward.
Yeah, he also obviously noticed that MaxPax never walled, even a single time so far. So he can jump into the main base with the Reapers and then multi-prong with the Hellions if he wants to. We'll see if he goes with everything at the front instead. Will be huge for MaxPax if he sees those Reapers spawning, because then he knows exactly what's up. He scouts the one Hellion, he sees the Reapers spawning. He didn't look, I don't think.
Well,
but maybe he knows. Okay, shield battery started.
Yeah, get some defense ready as that Reaper does finish off the Adept. So the Adept will go down. Blink is building the Warp Gate about to finish. We do have a starport from Clem, plus the Command Center coming up behind it, so we will have a CC. There's the continued wall off, and that's going to mean that the Hellions cannot get in at the front. And we're just going to sit here and kind of chip away at one of these gateways for a few moments as we are going to cancel one to let the Stalkers out. And Clem will just start to back away. Loses a Reaper though, unfortunately, and it takes a bit of the power out of this, even though it was pretty much dealt with anyway.
Yeah, I think at most he can try to deny a third base for a while, but MaxPax is going to be aggressive himself once again. He starts up that Robo, starts up a third gateway, so he's going to play the exact same build that he likes to play. And he will try to get across the map himself as well. Both players just trying to be active, trying to disrupt their opponents, trying to get damage done wherever they can. Good micro there with a Stalker. Escapes from the double Reaper, double Hellion force.
Now MaxPax adds on an additional gateway now. So it's going to get up to 3 once again and start getting onto the map. As you can see, the Stalker's able to get rid of a Reaper, but here comes the Cyclone. Gets a lock on. Stalker's going to be caught. No Blink available just yet, which means that kind of has a little bit of a push at the front, but he really feels as though as soon as Blink finishes, these Stalkers just going to have a very good time dealing with this. The battery obviously helps just maintain some shields. Tough to imagine that we are able to do enough here.
Yes, at the very least he delayed the third base of MaxPax because MaxPax was preoccupied. He had the minerals to start it, he had the Propos there, but he didn't start Nexus. So that is nice. Now he still has the Medevac on the other side of the map, and he's also escaped with the Reaper and the Hellion. So he's gonna counter-attack. He's gonna try to make MaxPax's life a little bit harder, where he will have to micro in multiple places at once. That's where we saw Hero on this very map fall apart against Gumiho. But MaxPax is not Hero, he's very fast and there is no tank ready here. The Liberator is out of position, the tank now has just spawned. Can MaxPax jump on it? Does he pay attention to the right place at the right time? He kills the first tank, doesn't lose a single Stalker for it, and gets out with all of the Stalkers.
Yep. Well, I mean, at the same time, Clem is getting some workers as well. So he is able to get some workers in return. This drop is seeing its final moments here, though. As Clem will lose out in his units. MaxPax is still on the other side of the map and able to poke about and still see if he can find more. He's going to blink through the natural. That's going to be -1 Stalker, though. And this explosive early game is starting to settle down. MaxPax still has an army supply lead and still has position on the map with units reinforcing now. Clem has no way to keep MaxPax from bringing other units from the other, to keep MaxPax keeping some units at home, right? So now everything can come the other way.
Yeah, and he only has one tank. He didn't even start a third tank right away, and with that one tank that he lost, he's in trouble right now. He's in big trouble, I think. MaxPax has split off the one Stalker. He checked for the tank. There was no tank there, so instead he's trying to focus fire down the bunker. Bunker goes down, and this can snowball so quickly. The tank was ready in the main base. It wasn't ready in the natural. He didn't have the second tank, and it's GG. The moment that tank dies, I think the game is pretty much lost. Because MaxPax, even though he lost some workers at home, he cleared up all the...
That's how everyone else is going to use it, so...
that is true. Well, I will count it because right now this is the biggest event that there is. We don't have anything else announced, which is kind of sad, but at the same time this gives this that much more importance as the man in the bottom left. The Protoss from Denmark. Can he do it? He's only one map away. It's Psystorm's MaxPax.
In the top right, now a blue Terran player from Team Liquid. This is Clem. Needs to win 3 maps in a row to get it done.
Yeah. In the winner bracket, he also had to win 3 maps in a row. And he actually did that against a guy called Cyril, so... I wouldn't put it past him, as he's already ready to eBay block on this map. Or is it a second barracks? He's a Marauder, actually. Oh. Cheeky Clem. Early scout though from MaxPax.
Yeah, he is going to get across the map. We'll see if we can figure out a little bit of something going on here. Just have the probe heading towards the upper right-hand side. He's about to arrive and get some scouting done.
Yes. Let's see if he can count workers, because there's 2 SCVs missing from the amount that there should usually be. And you normally check at least the double gas. He doesn't even check the double gas. That is really bad for him. He's now going to try to deny the CC on the low ground. Sees a second depot go up. This now looks like 2 gas for him. He obviously has no scouting information whatsoever. Could be a Reaper spawning, so he goes away with the probe. This is bad for MaxPax. This is bad for MaxPax. He doesn't understand exactly what's going on. I hope he's gonna rescout and see that there's no reactor at the very least. But so far the probe's just hiding.
Yep. Hiding back, chilling away. As you see the Marauders starting. The concussive shells is on the way out, so we bring that through. And probe is going to start putting down a pylon. Ooh.
This would be a 2-gate then at the very least. I'm not sure exactly if this is good for him or not. At the very least, he doesn't have a useless Twilight Council.
That's true.
He's not even gonna see the move out of the Marines. That would have been huge, because this is a huge giveaway. You never make 3 Marines without an add-on. Is he gonna see it? He's gonna see it with the probe randomly. Oh, that's huge for MaxPax.
Yeah.
He instantly needs to start a shield battery.
Yep. He knows what's up. He sees the Marines coming. Battery will start, and defenses will be prepared as... I mean, yeah, this probe just gets spotted, so cancels the gateway, is going to come forward with the probe and just keep an eye on the natural, which is obviously not there at all, and is not going to be anytime soon as Clem is committing to this push. 2 batteries on the way up. The probe sees the Marauders coming. The batteries are still not quite done yet. Can we buy some time with these Stalkers? The Adept taking the first concussive shells has to pull this Stalker away right now, you would imagine. We go back and forth, and we are going to start defending this so far. Needs to get that bunker at some point, but not a miniature rush, as MaxPax is just going to shut it down. Clem says GG, and MaxPax is just right then and there going to win this tournament.
Huge congratulations to MaxPax for winning.